So, one of the biggest albums that 2024 will have released on Friday, namely Beyonce's left turn into country, Cowboy Carter. And when I say one of the biggest, I mean it's on track to smash first week sales in the US for the entire year, which is to be expected, of course, from a Beyonce album. But I can't say I wasn't a little worried. I mean, the stands were obviously always going to carry the project to high heaven. But I don't know. I've seen the general reaction to the news that the sequel to Renaissance was going to be a little more rootsy than her last, and it wasn't entirely positive. I guess it was a little stupid of me to be worried, though. Queen Bee's gonna Queen Bee and all that. But it has left me in the lurch of wanting to cover such a cultural phenomenon without really knowing what angle I should attack it from, because I honestly feel a little out of my depth. I mean, do I cover it as a Beyonce album? That feels like a bad idea. Partly because Beyonce's last 10 years aren't easy to categorize into a sound specific to her, but also, I just am not hugely invested in the Beyonce phenomenon. I've heard Renaissance and Lemonade, and I love both those projects, but outside of that, I haven't really ever cared about her. And I'm not saying I'm too cool for Beyonce or anything. Like I said, I love both of her last two projects. It's just my own, music listening experiences. I mean, one thing I will say about her career is that she's definitely transitioned from being a singles artist to an album artist. You know, it used to be about the single ladies and girls running the world and seeing your halos, and now it's about Lemonade and the album concepts about cheating husbands and this new trilogy. Obviously, she's still got huge hits, because duh. But I don't think Break My Soul outweighed Renaissance as a whole, in the same way Texas Hold'em doesn't outweigh Cowboy Carter as a whole. Anyway, if I can't be a credible source from a Beyonce perspective, maybe I can be a credible country critic? Except, no. Nothing against the genre, I just haven't given it a lot of time, like I haven't with metal. Like any self-respecting country music hater, I love that one Chris Stapleton album, and I like the occasional song from Casey Musgraves and Zach Bryan. I Hope You're Happy Now by Lee Brice and Carly Pearce is gorgeous. I'm trying to think. But who cares? I'm not sure that being a country connoisseur would have actually helped me anyway. Country tends to lead pretty traditional, let's say, and I'm not entirely sure that the crowd that banned Old Town Road from country radio stations would be thrilled about filing an album with songs like Spaghetti or Tyrant under that label. My mum's a massive country fan, and you should have seen her reaction to Texas Hold'em. So, if I'm not covering this as a Beyonce fan, and I'm not covering this as a country fan, what am I doing here? Well, that's a very good question. No idea. Bye. I mean, I am kidding. I really do have thoughts about Cowboy Carter. And I think the best place for me to start is to talk about how fucking long it is. Because Cowboy Carter is huge. It's 27 tracks, 78 minutes, and with that naturally comes a bit of a stigma. Oh, she should have cut this down, or was this track really necessary? I'm not going to pretend I haven't fallen victim to that mentality in the past, but equally, there are massive mainstream projects that I've enjoyed immediately that definitely weren't packed to the brim with original sounds or concepts, and I think it's important to understand the meaning behind making Cowboy Carter as massive as it is. I mean, for example, Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert is one of those long-ass albums I enjoy. I like basically all the features. I think Uzi gives fun performances. I even put the Baby Metal track on my honorable mentions last year, but it's still clearly bloated as hell. You know, Did You Know That This Is a Long-Ass Title for an Album by Lana Del Rey is also very good, despite being super lengthy for not much reason. So when I tell you that Cowboy Carter is not an album that I particularly love, you gotta know that it's not just because I've got a Twitterfied attention span and get distracted by my own reflection. I mean, that is true, but still. I mean, I had my reservations right from the singles. There were only two, and they came out right at the same time. 16 Carriages was the smaller track, with a slower build-up and more emphatic climax, plus just a generally more unique structure. Texas Hold'em, on the other hand, was the big, radio-friendly, line-dancing country style, you know, that old rootin' tootin' swashbuckle... No, swashbuckle? I am so clearly not American, oh my god. Anyway, look, I like both of these songs heaps. 16 Carriages is beautiful, Texas Hold'em is overplayed, but still a lot of fun. I played both of them quite a bit in my own time, especially Texas Hold'em, but they also didn't strike me as particularly original adaptations of the sound she was going for. And on a full-length project, I was a little worried about how it would come out. I mean, it's still a Beyonce album, so the production's going to be stellar and her vocals are going to be stellar, but still just a lingering little feeling of doubt. And then I saw the track list and I went, oh shit. And I still am not 100% sure what to think. It was better than I feared, that's for sure. I'd actually say I liked most of it. My actual issues with the project were kind of the opposite of what I feared, because honestly, I don't think Cowboy Carter leads hard enough into the country vibe. And there's two ways of reading it, right? One is that it's exactly what I was asking for, a fresh take on country from the perspective of someone not normally associated with the genre, which would be cool. But, and I know this is so hypocritical, but it just reads as non-committal to me. I kind of hate spaghetti, not gonna lie. It's just a really weird tonal moment sitting between Alligator Tears and Daughter, and it's just a pretty basic and disjointed hip-hop track with some hype vocal runs. At best, it's just a worse version of what we get with Yaya later in the album, which is actually well-placed and fun and a cool fusion of a bunch of sounds Beyonce is known for, including the sounds in this album. And Riverdance is so bad, man. It's so bad. Like, I get it, it's a catchy track in a similar vein to what Texas Hold'em was, where repetition of the hook is kind of the point, but the difference is that this hook sucks, and the guitar line should be used to extract information from prisoners of war. I mean, those are basically the only two tracks I can really remember viscerally hating, though. I know I basically said to let her cook with this runtime, but the biggest crime that Cowboy Carter commits is that outside of the context of, oh look, it's a country album by Beyonce, how cool. I can't see why this is so much better than everything else out there. And that's not me doubting the authenticity of this album. Actually, that's one of the biggest things I can praise about this. It feels like a passion project before anything else, and Beyonce actually fits this style shockingly well. I don't know, outside of the singles and like the other few standouts I've got in the description, this is fine. The songwriting is fine. The features range from pretty good to basically pointless. The covers are fine. Okay, actually, no, I really liked her rendition of Jolene and thought it was perfect contextually as well. What other things did I like? I actually think generally the album starts off pretty strong. American Requiem is a solid opener, and I think Protector and Bodyguard are really cute. Dolly Parton remains a gem on all of her parts here, and aside from Riverdance, the ending to the project is pretty good. Two Hands to Heaven is basically perfect, and there should have been more songs like it. I really wish there were more songs like it, because ultimately, I just don't get a lot from this project. I think it's good, and despite not being super hot on it, I just find the discourse and general musical analysis of it to be pretty engaging, so I guess she's done her job there. At the very least, I can't complain about what Cowboy Carter has given me, but I can complain about the fact that it's more interesting to talk about this album than it is to listen to it. Check out the description for the absolute standouts, which I do think you should absolutely listen and re-listen to, because they are great. Otherwise, Cowboy Carter is a good album that just kind of pales in comparison to her previous works. Thanks for watching. Why do I hold up one finger? What's wrong with me? Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this album as much, or even more, than I did. That was fun.